Okay,
Well,
what?
you know what, no, Charles, I think that this is the thing. It's a matter of reading comprehension and interpretation. Because
Exactly.
what I've heard there is from Cynthia and from the others that contributed prior to, they spoke of a spear or a sign or a something that stated basically notified the community of their house.
Exactly.
Uh, but then I see what I see in each of those sentences. What stands out to me, as if it's more bold than anything else, is the three words: by their standards. So whether they were pitching a tent and their housing, what they by their standards, without regulation from outside parties, whether they're speaking of a flag, banner, spear, otherwise a sign that is their ensign of their father's house, announcing who they are. But again, by their standards. So what stood out to me in that was by their standards, which does go towards what we were speaking of earlier. Um, each home was pitched by their standards. They set up their if it's the housing that they're speaking of, it's by their standards. If it's the morals and those rules that they will live by, it's by their standards. So whether it was either physical, you know, or a statement of morality, it was by their standards. And that's what I think, I just earlier, that division of the standards, it has to kind of be set aside. As long as there is nothing that is seen as obscene to what Charles likes to refer to as the public, I refer to as the
Exactly.
private. So the private side of the public. I yield.
That's exactly what I was saying. Is about, okay, what I do in my household, just like we were talking about gays and rights and stuff like that, is by my standards in my household. But as a collective, as a community, then we come together as we pitch together as a collective, and then we have to, because every man and every woman and child has the freedom, as long as they do no harm or injury to another unalienable, to harm another person unalienable rights. And that's when we come as a community and we decide together what we want the laws and rules to be as a group. But we also have the right, as long as we're not invading on anyone else unalienable rights, to do what we want in our home as our standards, because that's the freedom of every man, woman, and child.
So community standards, if you will.
Yes, yes,
When we
exactly.
go outside the
Yeah,
household.
I don't think that's what the word standard here meant. I think a better word for the accurate quotation of the biblical text would be flag or image or something like that. It was some kind of a sign that was indicative of the house of the fathers. That's what the political polling. There was a poll there with either a flag or an eagle on top or something like that. That was the standard, and they pitched their tents, like Chris said, the different communities by the flags or the poles with the images of each of their communities.
It doesn't matter if whatever type of figure or what type of icon you want to make, whatever. The whole point is, when you start a community, a tribe, everybody, every man, woman, and child matters in that tribe. And we respect each other. Whatever icon you want to use, that's up to us as a community to decide that as a group. But the whole point is just to make it simple. Everybody coming together as a group and respecting each other's differences, and also respecting each other's differences when it comes to the collective, like the public out in the community, and well as respecting others' differences inside the household. This is how these societies are going to be set up. And it's about everybody that's in that community. And we come together and knowing that we all are equal. Every man, woman, and child is equal.
Here, here.
Thank you, Michael. We've got the right to form our own self-governing communities that have different flags, that have different belief systems, ideologies, and separate. I dare to suggest that some of our brothers and sisters here are more leaning towards the right wing, while some others are leaning a little bit more towards the left wing, and maybe they would be more comfortable and more peaceable by forming separate communities. We don't all have to be governed in the same stew pot. There's general parameters here. This is the beauty of the common law and biblical Torah law, is that there are general parameters. Christ boiled it down to two. You love God, number one, and you love your neighbors, even those that are not part of your communities. But you get along better with those that are in your communities. And because keeping the peace in the individual communities is a priority, we're encouraged to form our own communities with people that we get along with. That's the priority.
If I may.
I do believe is summarized from these biblical principles here.